Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Simon Coles, Dr. Bob Choat, and Stewart Wiggins. And I would like to talk about what is the difference between being arrogant, assertive, and aggressive. Stewart, can you kick us off?
Sure. So I look at this three different ways, obviously, because there's three different things. And I'm gonna put a question out there that does not require any response. But does success breed arrogance? Okay. Or enough success breed arrogance? So assertiveness, I think everybody does in their day-to-day lives, particularly in their work life, because they want to accomplish a mission. And they feel the best way to do that is that way. Now, some people might say, well, what is aggressiveness this? I used to have a saying, and I still use the saying, that we solve our problems through aggression. And what that means is if there's an issue, let's aggressively pursue it. But not just if there's an issue or a problem, but I think that if you're really doing a function very, very well, then you should aggressively pursue trying to enhance it and make it better. The results of assertiveness and aggressiveness, if they come too frequently or too easily, then I think that can lead to arrogance. And it is an action, and it's observable.
Yeah, you posed a question, Stewart, regarding does success lead to arrogance? I think it can in a way that when somebody is constantly being successful in terms of what they do, now it transitions into that know-it-all attitude, that they think that they can just be the person that knows it all because they've been successful in this arena or in this area, and instead of being able to step back and have the humility and really developing true competence, and I've seen this in many different areas. I have to deal with a certain family member as well who comes across as know-it-all in everything. We try to have a conversation, and he says, "Well, I know it all. I know it all," that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that has been a challenge in terms of the family situation. I've seen it in business and even in sports. And Robyn, how many times have you, because I know you've done a lot of talks, have you ever had an audience member that just started blurbing out thinking that they already knew it?
I actually said to an audience member once, "Are we really going to argue about this right now with me on stage and you in the audience?" And they said, "Well, yeah, I want to argue about it." I said, "Let's do that off stage." And I shut it down and went on. So yeah, absolutely. I've had an audience member do that. Simon, I'd love to get your thoughts on the difference between arrogance, aggressiveness, and assertiveness.
So I think it's one of those things that context and perspective matter. One man's assertive is another man's aggressive, sort of thing.
Well, and as a woman, definitely that's true.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And you would think, arrogant is generally a word you think was always a bad word to use. Assertive is generally a word that is generally considered kindly. If you see them, it might be you're a little bit too assertive, but that's about it. Whereas aggressive is one of those words that it can go both ways. It can be you're being aggressive, i.e., your actions on what your behavior is outside of the bounds of what I consider to be acceptable in this conversation. Or it could be that you're aggressively trying to solve a problem and you've got this sort of can-do spirit or whatever. So I guess what I bring out from that is that those three words are actually minefields. Really. I mean, assertive is just about right. But arrogant, for example, is it possible to be justifiably arrogant? Possibly in certain well-bounded situations. Taking Bob's there, like you can't be know it all about everything. But, if you are the world expert in a very, very niche field, and some people might consider yourself to be arrogant, but you might just be very well read, very well understood the subject, and just bored with dealing with people who don't know as much as you do.
And not very warm. Because I'm reading a book right now about charisma, and it talks about you can know absolutely and talk about it with authority and not be seen as arrogant if you're warm and seen as kind.
Yeah. So
Now-
maybe it's our lack of people skills is the arrogant one, you know.
True. Now, is there a difference between arrogance and true confidence?
Perspective.
Yeah.
If I don't think you know what you're doing, I might call you arrogant.
I can be confident and say, I know what I'm talking about and be warm and kind, or I can be confident and be like, I know what I'm talking about and you're an idiot.
Yeah.
That's arrogance.
Right.
Well, but it might not be arrogance. It might be a genuine, I mean, you see this right now where, you know, the general population is all of a sudden stuck with really deep scientific questions like, you know, do lateral flow tests, are they absolutely reliable? And there are people talking who shouldn't really be talking.
Mm-hmm.
Is it arrogant to point that out to them? Is their opinion more valuable than fact?
No, it's not arrogant to point something out to someone. It's arrogant. So no one ever learns anything from shame. And I think that arrogance is about shaming other people. So it's possible to teach someone, for me at least, it's possible to teach or share or say to someone. Now, if they come back super aggressively and then you match that, then that's not arrogant, that's aggressive. Then you get into a different dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about success sometimes creating this arrogance. And I noticed Bob has a picture, John Wooden back there. And John Wooden had unparalleled success. Now, I never knew the man personally, but I will bet you he was never arrogant about the level of success that he had.
Yeah, I actually had a chance to meet him, and I can tell you that the way his humbleness as a coach and in a person, it's the same. He's very authentic.
Mm.
I'm sure I'm not the only person who doesn't know who he is.
So John Wooden coached a men's college basketball team back in the 70s.
Okay.
And he won how many championships in a row?
10.
10.
Yeah, so yeah, it was actually he won 9, and he skipped a year, and then he won the 10th one.
So are we saying that the difference between being arrogant and just knowing what you're doing is humbleness and that warmth and that humbleness? Is that what we're saying?
I can sign up for that.
Okay.
It's certainly people skills. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But too knowledgeable, but without people skills, you will come over as arrogant.
And so then aggressive and assertive is the difference in that the perception of the person with whom you're talking to and may not be you at all. Because, and this is an interesting dynamic because for women, we are often seen as aggressive. When a man does the same thing, they're seen as assertive. So is that a perception thing and not how you're behaving?
Yeah, I think it's a perception. And I have to agree with Simon, what Simon said earlier, depending on the context. I think like in a corporate world, I think if we used being assertive in a way that is where you have empathy with the other person, that comes across better.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, Robyn, I spent 8 years in a Marines,
Mm-hmm.
from 68 to 76. And in that context, I had to get aggressive. So again, that was context based versus I couldn't do the same thing in a corporate world. I couldn't do the same thing when I'm with clients or even speaking on stage. It's completely different.
So go ahead, Simon.
Can these be trained? I mean, you can train people to be assertive. I assume you can train people to be aggressive in certain situations. Would you
Yeah.
I
be
think it's
trained
part
to
of
be
your
arrogant?
personality. I think it has to be ingrained in you because you can teach it and teach it and teach it, but I think it has to be part of your nature to be aggressive. I mean, if you see somebody that has a really great personality and you say you should be in sales and they never sell anything, no matter how much you train them, that doesn't equate to success in sales. It just means that they're not the type of person that can aggressively go down the street and sell product. You know, I mean, I'll go back to Bob talking about being in the Marines. Aggressiveness can be useful, but arrogance will get you killed. Agree or disagree?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I know you
because-
can learn not to be arrogant. I know that's definitely true because I've learned as I've gotten older to be less arrogant or come across as less arrogant as I've gotten older. So that is our 10 minutes. So I'm going to have to cut off the recorded conversation at least right here. So thank you so much for having with me. And I look forward to doing it again with each of you very soon.